Just a second, just a second. I hope everybody can hear me now. I'm having a difficulty with my sound. If you can hear me now, please let me know. All right, well, let me try this way. Everybody hear me? What about now? I know I got a slight echo, but this is what I have to deal with now. All right, thank you for being with me. I know I got a slight echo, but we got about less than 20 minutes, about 19 minutes. So let me continue the show at this level, at this capacity, because it's best that we talk about a serious issue. Even though the technology is compromised at this moment, it's still important that we discuss about Mumia because we have work to do. And that's what the march teaches us. That it reminds us that Mumia is our responsibility to bring home. So going through a number of communities, the march covering over 100 miles, we learn what we need to do when it comes to our political prisoners, that we must build relationships in the community, that we must be consistent, because the march for 12 days straight and cover 100 miles says a lot about who we are, especially those people who were involved. Like I said, I only did one day, but there were people who did every day, and I salute them. I want to interview more of them. I want to talk to more of them. And again, shout out to Zaid Muhammad, who came on and decided that, he's going to take the time to inform people about Mumia Abu Jamal, to inform people about the march and its importance. And I just want to touch on the history of marches, right? I'm not going to get into all the marches that we were participating as people of African descent, but I want to let you know the importance and significance of this march. The historical Black marches, particularly some of the Montgomery marches, had a profound impact on civil rights and voting rights in the United States. Here are some of the key results of these marches. Increased awareness. The marches drew national attention to the injustices faced by African Americans in the South, leading to increased support for the civil rights movement. Voting rights movement. The marches were instrumental in mobilizing the African American community to register and vote, which was a crucial step towards achieving voting rights. Federal legislation. The marches contributed to the passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was a landmark achievement in the civil rights movement and aimed to end racial discrimination in voting. Civil disobedience. The marches exemplified the use of nonviolent protest as a form of civil disobedience, challenging the status quo and demanding justice for African Americans. Resilience and persistence. Despite facing violence and intimidation, the marchers demonstrated resilience and persistence, continuing their fight for equality and justice. These marches not only changed the course of American history, but also inspired future generations to continue the struggle for civil rights and social justice. Right? Somebody said the next march got to be bigger. The people need to come together because a lot have a change. The march got to be bigger. The people need to come together because have a lot to change. Absolutely. And I think that this is important that we have these discussions. And that was the importance of this march for Mumia, because it allowed us to understand the impact that we have, the pressure that we can put on the elected officials, that we can do something, that we can step up, we can stand together, and we can make a definite impact in the outcome of this particular situation. So just analyzing the past and looking about what we've done with this march or those who participate in the march, there's a lot for us to celebrate. There's a lot for us to recognize. And I think that that is something that we continue to have a discussion about for the next couple of days, right? Before you know it, Kwanzaa will be here. So to talk to our people about Kwanzaa, to go through the different principles, the 7 principles, we definitely have to include the march, this historical march, the March for Mumia, and how it needs to be utilized in raising people's consciousness about our political prisoners. That now we have something to talk about solidly. Some people might ask, it's just a march. What does a march do? As I've been educated and I've been informed, a march transforms the people. Now, what do you mean when you say transform the people? It raises their consciousness. They think that people are not concerned or ignoring the issue. But if you see tens or possibly hundreds of people standing on a particular issue, now it becomes more of a concern to other people. Other people get involved. They decide that they're going to participate. They decide that they're going to take a definitive position, that they are not going to let things just slide. And I think that that itself lets you know that, oh, wow, something's been done and I need to be involved in what's going to be done next. You start asking yourself, where was I when this march occurred? What does Mumia mean to me? That's why I say, get this book if you don't have it. We Want Freedom. Read the book. It's an incredible book. And it lets you know Mumia's love and passion for his people, to educate his people on our history, to remind his people that there's some action that we need to take, that we have to be sane, right? And the only way that you can maintain sanity is through organized action, is to actually be getting involved. So yeah, you can share information with people, but what are you doing outside of that? When the people are in the street organizing, taking a position, what's your position? Are you home being relaxed, or you're making the decision that you got to do something? I would think that this march did that. It allowed those who are not really involved consistently to ask themselves some serious questions. Like, I need to get more involved, that I need to stand up, that I need to be in the fight. I think about the concept of solidarity over sympathy. And what that means is that you're actually involved. You're taking a definitive position. You're sacrificing your time in a constructive way. You're investing it in something that is beneficial for the collective. You know, in 2025, there's a mountain of distractions, as our beloved Field Marshal Coltrane Shimarenga would say, one of the founders of the December 12th movement. There's a mountain of distractions. We have to understand that despite these distractions, you know, our self-determination to make sure it's serious, to make sure another generation takes it serious, we have to be the model. We have to be the example of what should be done. And that's exactly what the march was about, being an example for the fight for our political prisoners, being where you need to be, being a part of a group, standing behind slogans, being a part of a program, right? Imam Jamil Al-Amin said, slogan is not a program, right? But if a slogan has a program, then that slogan is powerful because now you put in practice the theory. And that's exactly what the march was about, putting theory to practice, being amongst each other, talking to each other, building strong relationships. I know I was having some incredible conversations. I was invited to come to my brother Keith Collins' church in Philly, and I respect that. And, you know, I definitely have to take him up on that offer. I know I met another comrade who was almost twice my age, was almost twice younger than me. And she told me about her history, you know, her Palestinian heritage. And that let me know, wow, this is an important march to be in. I'm around some serious people, some people who understand that regardless of the weather, regardless of our numbers, that I have to be here because I don't want another political prisoner to die in prison on my watch. That I want to know that I did my best. I put it all on the line. I was where I needed to be. I spoke to who I needed to speak to. I shared the information with those who wanted the message. And I just decided that I'm going to be very serious about that. I was encouraged by these conversations because these conversations let me know that I was not alone. These conversations let me know that Mumia is loved, he is appreciated, and we need to do more for him. So if you were not able to be at the march, please go to marchformumia.org. Make sure you provide your contact and just stay in the loop. Stay in touch with the organizers who are fighting to free Mumia, and make it your business to make some time for Mumia. one of the things that I did out of this march is I actually wrote to Mumia. Hopefully this time he'll write me back. I told him that I want to visit him. So I'm going to let those who are involved in organizing around Mumia to let them know that I wrote him. And if he could somehow put me on that list of visiting him. And once I make that visit, I'll make sure that I have an episode dedicated to that visit and what it did for me. Because I've been learning about Mumia often and long enough. I have two of his books, and they're very inspirational to me because regardless of what he's going through, he has not neglected his responsibility as a person of African descent regarding being conscious of the political conditions. As the brother at the opening rally said, Mumia still speaks on Palestine. And that lets you know that he takes a position that's principled. He understands that we have work to do. Just a second, I'll get you that information about where you could write to Mumia. I'm glad that you asked that information. Please like, please share, get this information. And also, I'll provide you my contact, 347-679-3936. If you're having any problems with getting your letter out for whatever reason, because then I could go through my contacts and let them know that somebody had an interest in writing to Mumia, and I help them, or I help you get that letter to him, because I know I had this problem with getting to Ronald Reed, which is another comrade, another brother that I wrote to, and I sent out another letter because the last time I sent the letter, it was sent back to me. But as we close out this year, it's important that we close it out on a strong stance, that we close it in a position that in 2026, we're going to make sure that we're more active. We're going to make sure that we do what is necessary. We're going to get our children involved. We have our children write a letter to Mumia. Have our children at a demonstration. I believe, if I'm not wrong, I did see a child or two that was at the March for Mumia at that opening day. And to those parents that brought their child, you know, people power to you, Black power to you. We appreciate you doing that, because I'm 52 and that is my future leadership. Those who are involved in the work to fight for our self-determination. Those are the ones that's going to take care of me as I age, as I become as I go further into eldership. And I need to be concerned about where their mind is going. Is their mind about the interests of the collective, or their mind thinking about themselves and securing their personal interests? I think that that is developed by what we do today. And educating our people on the march, this historic march, is going to be very beneficial to their education. Because me as a parent, I made sure that education wasn't just in the schools, that it was at home. In fact, home was the primary source for our child education. And that school just provided additional resources to further develop that child's mind. Imagine having political education in your household with this book. What would it do to your child's mind? And then afterward, letting your child know that they can write to Mumia, that Mumia is going to appreciate the writing. So I just want to provide my contact information for those of you who are deciding to write Mumia and having trouble writing something, or don't know where to start, or maybe having problems getting their letter through. This way I could use my contacts to inform Mumia that somebody's trying to reach him, that somebody has some information for him. When we participate in these marches, not only do we raise awareness about Mumia's imprisonment, but we raise awareness about other political prisoners. The Fred Muhammad Burton, from the Virgin Islands. We have that work to do. It is our goal. It is our responsibility to make that possible. That's why we got to remain consistent with this work. I know today I'm a bit all over the place. I apologize for that deeply. I'll get better next week. Obviously it's going to be another week because this work has to be ongoing. You got to put something out there to others to know that there's a concept, there's an idea that's out there that's important to us. And that idea, that concept is our political prisoners. So please like and share it with your contacts, share it with your family. And as we prepare for Kwanzaa and we prepare to celebrate New Year's, let us think about Mumia Abu Jamal. Let us think about this historic march. Let's think about those who participate in the march, what it meant for them, what it means for us. Let's show appreciation. Let's decide that we're not going to let another political prisoner die in prison, that we're going to take a definitive position, that we're going to pace ourselves to do this work, because obviously we all have different levels of capacity. But whatever capacity you have, it's appreciated because it's a part of that collective capacity. And the March for Mumia was just a reminder of our collective capacity, our potential to do a whole lot more. Because 100 miles, over 100 miles of marching is a lot for us to give our people, because it's the consistency. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7, day 8, day 9, day 10, day 11th, and the final day. It lets our community know that these people are serious, that Mumia continued to have supporters after all these years. So I ask those who are there to share your experience with others. Continue to post on social media. Let people know what your experiences was. Let people know that we have to continue this serious work, that we must continue to fight, that the freedom of our political prisoners is just as important as reparations, that the freedom of our political prisoners is just as important as ethnic cleansing, as fighting against that. It's just as important against fighting against police brutality. Because just like Sekou Odinga said in one of his interviews, what you were fighting for now, or what they were fighting for before, is what we are fighting now. Because it's all about our relationship to those in power. We need to rise to power. We, the working class, need to be in a position where we make sure food, clothing, and shelter is available to all. And the only way we do that is we switch the status quo. So one of the things that I did recently is wrote to a number of political prisoners. And excuse me if I repeated myself, but I'm making sure that I leave this episode with an assignment that I'm giving to people. And I can't accurately or rightly give an assignment without doing it myself. So I wrote to a number of political prisoners and I'm waiting for them to write me back. But as I wrote them, I made sure that the letter was about me telling them about the ideas that I had and me waiting for that response. Because now when you decide to take a stance on a particular political prisoner, you have their instruction, their marching orders. Mumia Abu Jamal co-signed the march. He gave his words of encouragement at one particular time. I don't know if it was the first day or the second day, but that itself meant a lot to those who were involved in the march. So before I end this episode, I want you to do your research on the history of marches and what came out of those marches. And I want you to know that more people understand the significance and the importance of Mumia because of this march. So let's not be comfortable with our political prisoners dying in prison. Let's get more energized. Let's get more fuel. Let's be more dedicated to freeing our political prisoners. So with that being said, don't let another political prisoner die in prison. Get involved, act now. Go to marchformumia.org and see what you can assist with. Peace and love, family. Once again, sorry for the technical difficulties. I'll get better as we move forward. Peace and love, family.